Hello, Sam Dyer here, and welcome to Top Tips for Scottish BTL Success. So in my last video, I touched on calculator versus reality, and in this video, I want to expand on it a little bit and talk about running costs. Now, there's 5 key points I want to touch on. First one being long-term versus short-term. Now, typically your one-bedroom flats in the middle of the town, they will have a higher gross yield, but they'll also have a higher turnaround of tenants versus, say, an ex-local authority 3-bedroom terrace house. So with more turnarounds, the majority of professional investors will use a letting agent. So the letting agents charge fees, higher fees at a turnaround. So of course that's going to eat into your return. And even if you are self-managing, you've got that time invested in finding a new tenant and potentially a bit of cost as well. Second point, lending. Now, there are lenders who will not lend on flats in Scotland, period. Doesn't matter where it is, they will not touch a flat. That's just one example, but when you're buying a property, you need to be thinking about the lending criteria because you want the maximum pool of lenders, because potentially if you buy something that's hard to get lending on, you're severely restricting your choice of lenders, and that could put you at higher fees and higher rates, again eating into your returns. Next point, maintenance. So first of all, the cost of a boiler is the same whether you buy a 20 grand property or a 100 grand property. So that's something you need to consider. And the other point on maintenance, if you have a long-term tenant, what tends to happen is they'll spend money, fixing the garden, boundary fences, painting, carpets. I've even had tenants ask for permission to put new kitchens in. This tends to happen when you get these long-term rentals because the tenants feel like it's their own home. Now, let's say, for instance, the boiler goes, they'll go call Old Bill down the road to come fix it instead of hassling their letting agent. In a short-term rental, this is less likely to happen because tenants are constantly, they're changing, they're moving, so they're not going to bother spending lots of money doing the property up. And the last point I wanted to touch on is particularly true of tenements, or for instance, I own a flat in Dunfermline. It's one in a block of 12. The roof blew off a couple of years ago. Now, 2 of them were still council owned, the other 10 were private. The council said, we'll do whatever the rest of the 10 of you do. Now, the 10 of us were basically arguing over, do we use this roof, this roof? It went from, I think, February the roof blew off until June, July, they actually finally fixed the roof when we finally came to a decision. So this could obviously be a big drain on your time and resources. So it's another point to think about is, tenements do come with that risk. There's five quick points. There's many more points I could touch on regarding running costs, but running out of time, so I'll pop up another video next week. Take care.